to Pioneer Conferencing. Please enter your conference ID, followed by the pound sign. Enter your conference code, followed by the pound or hash sign. Thank you. You will now be placed into conference. To mute your line, press *6. To unmute, press #6.
We'll give it just a few more minutes to let the rest of the folks add in, and then we'll get going.
Matt, are we doing roll or no?
No, Kirk, are you on yet?
I know he dialed in, Matt. He was just in my office. He's popping back into his. This is Bo.
Thanks.
Kirk's on.
Thank you. Fish on? We'll just give it one more minute or so, let everybody get kind of added on, and then we'll get going. I'll let you know.
Sounds good, thanks.
Line sounds good. Kirk, I don't know how you're going to plan on doing questions and answers, but if you will, just make sure to let everybody know whether or not you want them held to the end or in the middle of this. Just be sure and open with that part for one, and then this session, as most of you probably all know, is in response to our new direction from a digital standpoint, where we're trying to push this as an inventory item and an asset at all of our properties. So Kirk is our authority on this, and I think will provide some good direction for you on some things that you can do at your property. And again, I don't have anything on the back end of this, Kirk, so just however you want to handle questions, announce that part, and then you may take it away right away.
Okay, great.
Thanks, sir.
Yeah, thank you. We'll do questions and answers and comments at the end, but if there's just stuff that's burning along the way, feel free to interject. But I'm sure that, as sellers, when we're out in the field, that social media is coming up frequently in discussions, either with prospective partners or existing partners. And so we just wanted to get together, and we put together a document, a supporting document on Sports Center. Hopefully you guys got that. You can follow along with that. But our agenda, the things that we're going to talk about is we're going to provide an overview. We recently, when I say we, I'm talking about Bo Stevens and Nate McCann and myself, did what we call a social media audit, where we looked at all of our properties and kind of saw who has Facebook pages and how many they have and how many followers they have and who's got Twitter pages, how many followers, how many pages, so forth, YouTube channels, things like that. So we're going to share what we learned from the social media audit. We're going to talk about the most important thing, I think, is talking about our social media ad products and defining those, and hopefully everyone will use the same terms so we can create some sort of standardization from a sales perspective across the company. And then we'll hear from John Tull at Penn State Sports Properties and Sean Boyd at Sooner Sports Properties on some early success stories using social media for some partners. And then we'll talk a little bit about the role of Learfield Sports digital media as it relates to working with the properties and our school partners with and around social media. And then, like I said, at the end, we'll open it up for questions and answers and comments. So when we think of social media channels, The three that come to mind are Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. And just to distinguish the difference, Facebook and Twitter mainly are built on followers and distribution and, when done right, interaction. Whereas YouTube, they do have what they call subscribers. That's their version of followers, but it's typically not, big like Facebook or Twitter. But the real value is, when you have a branded channel on YouTube, all the views that you get from the videos. And YouTube now is the second biggest search engine next to Google. So very significant distribution channel there in YouTube, even though maybe it doesn't get all the hype that Facebook and Twitter get from a social media channels perspective. So what we want to be thinking about as a company when we think about social media channels like Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube is opening the channels properly, and then increasing the number of followers, deploying best practices. For instance, I was part of a Sports Marketing 2.0 conference in San Francisco 2 weeks ago as a panelist, and Facebook and Twitter were there, and the Lakers were there, and the Raiders, and the Seahawks, and Cavaliers, and a number of teams. And so best practices, if you guys want to write down these website URLs real quick, you can share these with the schools, or if we're publishing some of this content, like I think we are at Oklahoma and some other places, best practices are facebook.com/media and business.twitter.com. So if you want to look at some industry best practices that Facebook and Twitter have published, those are helpful resources. And then we also want to be thinking about, establishing a unique and authentic content value proposition. When we were at this panel in San Francisco, those are things that Facebook and Twitter really emphasized, is not only to establish a unique content value proposition, but make sure that the content is authentic to the channel, because people on Facebook and Twitter, they have different expectations. And so that's something to consider. And as a result of that panel, by the way, we're going to have more follow-up discussions with Facebook and Twitter, and some things that we can share with you as far as resources go. And then we also, want to define our social media ad products, and everyone's, speaking from the same sheet of music, and we have standardization. And then obviously monetize, and then using analytics. And an example of that would be, to monitor kind of what topics are trending among fans. We can monitor the conversation, and if there's something controversial or negative going on out there in Facebook or Twitter about our teams, it allows the publishers, the teams, to set the record straight when they need to. And then also the ability to, within analytics, to be able to archive content by keywords, which makes it searchable and archivable. And then the ability to measure campaign performance, whether it's for a team that might have a campaign or a partner that might have a campaign. So we'll talk about the audit results real quick. What we found in general is that, we call it the wild, wild west. And what we mean by that is, teams are kind of doing things differently, whether from a content perspective or from a best practices perspective or lack of best practices. Having a certain amount of followers or not having a good amount of followers, and then, having defined or not having defined social media ad products. So that's one thing that we learned. And then also, in the aggregate, if you look at all 52 of our properties on Facebook, we've got about, this was done in August, so it's a lot more now that the season started, but at the time, 1.1 million followers on Facebook across all of our different properties. And all but one property has a Facebook page, by the way. And then Twitter, you see those numbers, not quite 1 million followers across all of our properties. And then YouTube, not as much activity on YouTube. But just to give you some benchmarks on Facebook, if we as a company with all 52 of our properties have almost, close to 2 million followers. Just as a benchmark, the Los Angeles Lakers, just one team, has 2.5 million followers. ESPN has 800,000 followers, but fans are more fans of the team, not necessarily ESPN. But that gives you a benchmark. And then Wisconsin has the biggest Facebook followers at 173,000. And in contrast, surprisingly, North Carolina has only 11,000. So a lot of room for growth there. As far as Twitter goes, Oklahoma, these numbers are going to be a lot less. Oklahoma has 9,000 followers on their Twitter page, and North Carolina basketball has 11,000. And Stanford has just a few thousand followers on Twitter, but their head coach, Jim Harbaugh, has 336 followers on Twitter. So, and then IU's basketball coach has 18,000 followers. So we're seeing that personalities, sometimes more than teams, affect the amount of followers on Twitter. Okay, time to talk about some social media ad products, and we're going to break these out by Facebook first. We'll talk about Facebook. And again, I want to emphasize that it's important for all of us to use the same names and descriptions as we talk about our social media ad products, so we're standardized. So for Facebook ad products, one of the first things is what's called tabs, and these are up across the top of the screen. And these tabs can either be branded or unbranded, and there's an example that we put together here with the Washington Redskins. Their tab is unbranded, and it just says sweepstakes. But if you click on that, it takes you to the page where it's a great way to support a sponsored contest or promotion that is relevant to the team, to the fans, and to the advertisers. So tabs can be branded or unbranded, and that's a way to integrate an advertiser. The next Facebook ad product would be the favorite pages, and the favorite pages are typically on the lower left side. And again, it's a great way to promote our partners' pages if the dollars are right. And we can do this by either a week or a weekend or a month or a season or a year. So it's a great way to rotate in multiple partners. And it probably depends on the dollars if you want to sell it by a week or a weekend or a month or a season or a year-long basis. The next Facebook ad product would be sponsorship, which is simple branding and logo, co-branding. And the example we've used here was Oklahoma's page with their advertiser Cox. And there's some other ideas that you can think about to integrate this type of sponsorship or branding or logos. Maybe as a co-branded backdrop type of look, or even product placement, or maybe even being at their place of business or something to imply an endorsement, things like that. Another Facebook ad product, and probably the most valuable, would be branded news feed posts. And again, from a content perspective, to be unique and authentic to the channel, it's really important that if we integrate an advertiser into a post, that it must be entertaining and relevant to the team, to the fans, and to the advertiser. On Facebook and Twitter, we're talking about if it's not, that it'll have very negative impact. But if it's done good, there's the value of viral marketing, because good news travels fast on the internet and on Facebook and so forth and on Twitter. And bad news travels fast too, so that's why we need to be mindful of our branded newsfeed posts. Moving along, talk about Twitter ad products here. There are on Twitter what they call skins, and the example we use here is with Starbucks. It's kind of the background. So again, think of like a press conference backdrop or something co-branded like that. So you can use that area to integrate an advertiser. And again, you can sell this on a week basis or weekend basis or month basis or season or year-long basis. Again, it's a good way to rotate and integrate multiple advertisers. The next Twitter ad product would be a branded tweet. And again, being mindful of the content, making it relevant and authentic to the channel. We always want to make sure that it's entertaining and relevant to the teams, the fans, and the advertiser. And it's a good way to, support a contest and or promotion. Our YouTube ad products, we're going to skip over these for right now. We're in early stage discussions with YouTube. We were able to talk with Twitter and Facebook a couple weeks ago, but before we talk to YouTube, we just kind of want to hold off on some of this stuff. But you can feel free to review it, and it would apply to our video ad products on our OASs and things like that. Okay, right now I want to tee up John Tull. John, are you on the phone?
Yes, I am.
Horse Properties?
Yes. Hi.
Okay, John shared with me a promotion that they've launched with Weiss Markets, which is a grocery store chain. And John, I'm going to let you go ahead and speak a little bit about that.
Yeah, basically, Weiss is our kind of our official grocery partner of Penn State sports, and I keep giving them new ideas to see if I can engage them with upsells. And basically, their marketing director came to me in spring, early summer, and said, if you can figure out a way to increase our Facebook page traffic and grow the Facebook page, I would definitely look at something, because we're just struggling with it. Now, Weiss created their Facebook page in February. They had some issues with it as far as how they launched it. It was real slow, real soft launch. But long story short, I said, hey, how about engaging the Penn State fans with their pets? People love their pets, right? So why not do a Penn State pet of the game where fans could, go to their Facebook page and submit a photo of their pet wearing Penn State gear for the chance to win, gift cards from Benefield, Purina Dog Food, and Weiss Markets, etc. People love their pets, and the key would be that you have to like the Weiss Facebook page to participate. 100% Facebook promotion. You have to, people have to submit their photos, then they have to go on there and vote. And we pick 3 different pets for each week of the season, and then whoever gets the most likes wins the pet of the game. That's how it's advertised on the radio, on the LED. We did a Facebook announcement on the Penn State Facebook page, and within 4 or 5 days of posting it on the Penn State Facebook page, we had 24 pets already submitted for entry. And really, it's turned out to be a really good thing for them. When we started this promotion on August the 16th, they were hovering around 3,000 or so, people liking their page. And right now they're up to almost 5,200. So in about 7 weeks, we increased their page likes by 2,000, and the fans love it. I mean, a couple different weeks there was more than 100 likes for 2 different pets. So people, are really, chiming in, encouraging their friends to like the Weiss Facebook page and vote for my pet. So it's just an example of something that, that this grocery store chain has really wrapped their arms around. I pitched it to them originally for about $38,000. They ended up buying it in the low to mid 30s. Split it with their the Purina dog food Benefield partner, and so far so good. We're in week number 6, and there's 3 new dogs up there today. We've had horses, cats, dogs. Someone from Maryland sent in 2 turtles last week as their pet. So they've been very pleased with the fact that it's increased almost 2,000 in this period of time, and we're going to integrate a Facebook promotion as well for basketball. So
awesome. Does anyone have any questions for John? Okay, that's a great story, John, to help get more clients. That's a good success story. Sean Boyd, are you on the phone?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, Sean Boyd, Sooner Sports Properties. You want to share some stuff with the group?
Yeah, for sure. Kirk asked me to speak to you guys about a couple. We've had some good success here. We've got probably 3 or 4 different clients on board using Facebook in some part of their package. That's kind of the first thing I was going to point out that we're doing here is we've decided as a property that anytime we approach Facebook, we want to make sure and sell it as a package. We're definitely not going to sell it one-off. Brand affinity is just too high. There's just too much access for somebody to come in and just drop, $2,500 or $5,000 to buy into the Facebook page. I think I just looked. We've got about 159,000 fans, and it grows about 1,000 a week. And the other unique thing that we've got going is the two guys who run our Soonersports.com that actually work for OU Athletics are the guys who manage the site day to day. They clean up all the bad comments. They do a really good job. So if anybody's ever struggling, we've kind of tried to help Texas Tech even a little bit, get over some humps there. Those guys that even post that stuff for us are willing to write a testimony or whatever you guys need to maybe help if your athletics department fights you back on some of this stuff. Home Creations is a specific one I wanted to talk about. We've been trying to get a partnership with them for several years, and we just got them on board. It's a straight online/Facebook deal, and what we're doing with them on Facebook originally is we'd sold them ad space on the left-hand side, and then this branded tab idea. Unfortunately, Facebook came in right as we launched that and shut down the ad space on the left-hand side, said we couldn't utilize that. And then they've actually even told us that we can't utilize the tabs, and we're kind of going back and forth with them on that right now. So what we did with Home Creations was we went ahead and said every Wednesday is going to be Home Creations Wednesday during football season. So you get one post on our wall every Wednesday. And so Home Creations decides what that post is going to be. The first three have been related to a ticket giveaway for the upcoming Iowa State football game. And so each Wednesday, they go on, and Home Creations actually posts on their Facebook wall a place for our fans to come and leave a comment once they've liked the Home Creations page. And then our Facebook guys here at OU actually do a post saying, Sooner fans, here's your opportunity to win tickets. Go become a fan of Home Creations. There's a nice little Home Creations logo there for our fans to see. And that's actually just posted right there on our wall. In 3 weeks, Home Creations has gone from 1,000 fans. They had a real small page up to 1,772 today. So pretty successful. Over 700 new people following there. Each time, though, they've had over 100 comments in addition to the people who like the things on their page. But each time they've had over 100 people participate that are Sooner fans that want to win these tickets. So they've been thrilled with it. It's really a good compliment to what they do with video pre-roll and then storyboard ads on our homepage. Just gives them a great tie-in, and it's actually going to give us a platform to grow it, I think, for next year. The other one is Cox. We got this idea a little bit from Pittsburgh Athletics. Our guy here internally showed it to us. It was on that social media PowerPoint there that Kirk showed you guys. That's just that Cox logo is integrated in the upper left-hand corner year-round. That thing's just going to remain there for all our fans to always be reminded that they're the title sponsor of the page. In addition to that, we're giving them seasonal posts. We didn't really define the number of posts that they're going to get, just with the changes that Facebook had kind of implemented. But today we're going to do one. They've got a 7-day sale going on, so we're going to point out to our fans to link back and become a fan of their Facebook page to learn more about this 7-day sale. And at the title, they really kind of have some flexibility, and they just reach out to me and say, hey, 2 weeks from now, can we get a post about this? And we just schedule that out for them. And again, we sold that as a part of the package. We did about $15,000 to be the title sponsor as part of their overall sponsorship with us.
Anyone have any questions for Sean?
Well, this is John. I've got a question. Now, so you guys work directly with your athletic department to be able to sell these presenting sponsorships. I mean, this would be maybe a question for a different call or maybe a poll, but it seems like every school and university is different as far as the access that we have to Facebook and the amount of inventory we have to sell on the Facebook page. I mean, I know at Penn State we do Facebook announcements. You know what I mean? So we can do a posting with a logo. Here's a promotion. And Pat or anybody else, if you're listening, I mean, do we have the elements? Do we have the opportunity to sell actual sponsorships of the page?
Not right now. We can do the post like you mentioned, but that's about as far as it goes.
Okay.
Here's what we did at OU. We had some pushback in the spring a little bit, and we put our heads together, and we went to them and kind of gave them the option. We said, hey, we're either going to start a Sooner Sports Properties promotional Facebook page on our own, and we're going to sell everything that we want to sell on it, or you're going to let us have access to that, and we're going to work with you on it, make sure whatever we do is valuable, and it looks good. And it kind of scared them a little bit because they obviously don't want us running our own promotional page. I mean, they would never want us doing that, so they gave us access that way.
Hey, Sean, this is Kirk. With some of your issues with Facebook and them asking Sooner Sports Properties or OU to take some stuff down, let us know how we can assist. We have a relationship directly with Facebook. There's a guy, Justin Osofsky, who he's a big LSU fan. But anyway, he handles their college vertical and is like a sports representative who works for Facebook. And so, we actually had a separate breakout session with all the teams and Facebook and Twitter. And one of the questions we asked were, what can't we do? What is Facebook not wanting teams to do, and so forth? And pretty much their response was they don't want to prohibit teams from doing anything, and they just really encouraged content, promotional content to be relevant and things like that. But if there's anything we can do on that to assist, let us know. Okay, I appreciate that. Okay, let's move on. Hopefully we'll have more questions or comments at the end. But actually, I do want to answer one question that John Tull had, and just every property in every school is different, and that's why we call it the Wild Wild West. For instance, at OU, we have an embedded person who helps publish content for the website, Soonersports.com, and so forth. So we might not have that at Penn State, for instance. So it's not apples to apples everywhere. But we do definitely, want to get control of this channel because it is, an internet channel that's very valuable and sellable. So moving on to packaging, positioning, and pricing social media ad products. We want to encourage everyone to sell this as a sponsorship, not as a cost per thousand CPM basis, and sell it for a premium and establish some minimums to get involved, like Sean was talking how they do at Sooner Sports Properties. And so that'll be different at each property, but think about a minimum investment to get involved, and it might also require a media commitment with some other media or some other assets and entitlements. Sounds like John Tull was able to bundle in and leverage some other assets and entitlements in a bigger package. As far as positioning goes, it's an uncluttered channel. It's new, unlike radio or the stadium or whatever. There's not going to be a lot of partners involved right now, so it's an opportunity for someone to come in and really assume an early ownership position and build equity quickly. And it shows a close association with the team and the fans. So those are ways that we need to think about packaging, positioning, and pricing it. And the three things you really need to know or talk about when packaging, positioning, pricing, and presenting, just to keep it simple, are, number one, how many followers do you have, and what's the rate of growth been? Because I'm sure, you guys all have some really good stories of how this thing has been growing quickly. And it just reinforces that it's hot and it's popular and things like that. And then also, you want to talk about examples of how your content is unique and authentic to the channel. And, of course, talk about our social media ad products as we've defined them, so we have some standardization. The role of Learfield Sports Digital Media moving forward is, we see us serving as a social media agency of record, so to speak, for our properties and our school partners. Again, really emphasizing those first few things that we talked about, like opening up the channel properly, increasing the number of followers, deploying best practices, helping to establish a unique and authentic content value proposition, defining our social media ad products, monetizing and leveraging analytics. And speaking of that, we've worked with a couple partners so far, a company called Wildfire out of Silicon Valley, who recently worked with us on a beta test with Stanford Athletics and had a lot of success growing their number of followers through a 10-day promotion, grew it by over 300%. And then also we were about to engage in a partnership with a company here in Dallas-Fort Worth, believe it or not, called Social Rain. And so we are looking for a couple schools to partner with, again, leveraging all these things we talked about, like opening the channel properly, increasing the number of followers, deploying best practices, defining social media ad products, monetizing, and really leveraging analytics. So if your school is a candidate for that, we sure would like to know, because we're looking to beta with 1 to 2. And then our next social media roundtable, we'll talk about LinkedIn, specifically using LinkedIn to prospect, and then we'll have another roundtable talking about our mobile ad products. And to that note, Bo Stevens is about to send out, we've identified 15 digital ad products in different categories like online advertising and social media ad products and mobile ad products. So be on the lookout for that. I'm going to open it up for questions or comments.
Hey, Sean Boyd, are you still on? This is Matt.
Yeah.
Hey, can you give us kind of just a blow-by-blow on how things went with your negotiation for the page that you did? Really what I'm interested in is for everyone to kind of hear, what the conversation is like and how it may go when they get in the room with someone on a deal like this. Some of the specific questions that I'd like for you to answer or talk about is who drove the discussion that got you to the Facebook page? What were their client objectives? And then how did the negotiation go all the way down to, were they comfortable with the $15,000 that you put towards this, or did you, is that just what it shows in SMS and they don't know how much has gone towards this?
Right.
That kind of deal. Thank you.
Yeah, I would say on both occasions, neither Cox nor Home Creations had a very good Facebook following. It's very similar to John's deal at Penn State with the grocer there. They were just looking for a way, as part of the sponsorship, to grow that, so they had direct access to our fans once they liked their page. So that came up. That point, just like John said in his, came up in our kind of the fact finding with them, and so I went back and pulled our statistics on our Facebook page. At Home Creations, we actually did kind of an interactive presentation where I brought in a laptop and hooked into their Wi-Fi, and we took them through our Facebook page, took them through Soonersports.com, how easy it is for our fans to become a fan of our Facebook page, because our internal guys do a good job of that. And so they were really impressed by what our Facebook people were doing. And then I actually brought the Home Creations people in to meet Jason and Tori, who run our Soonersports.com, after we did the deal, so that they had a direct relationship with the people that were going to be talking about Home Creations to our fans. In terms of when I pitched it, neither of them actually negotiated. I would say that, neither of them probably knew the exact dollars that were associated. Home Creations would have been a little easier because it's a $20,000 package, and Facebook's about $7,500 of it. So they were thrilled at the thought of what it was going to do. She knew it was a bit of a risk, and she said that. But 3 weeks in now, they're stoked about how it's going, and it's going really well. Cox, on the other hand, the $15,000 is part of a six-figure deal. They knew it was a decent-sized piece of it, but again, they're a media partner, and they were just looking to change how they were doing things with us. They can't have any access to our venues because AT&T has all that, so we had to get creative, and Facebook really opened the door for us to do that, because it's the only way they can have a direct piece of ownership at OU with what AT&T owns here.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds kind of like these two entities came into your discussion with a need and a desire to grow their Facebook presence, and were you looking to do that by connecting with the Sooners, and less about, hey, we just need to we believe we can sell more by, does that make sense?
Right, no, yeah, the goal was to get our fans to like their pages.
That's probably a byproduct, but it's more about them just building their following at this point.
Correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
That's interesting. Okay, I don't know that that's how we've approached it. I think most people are going in there assuming, hey, I'm going to help you sell your product through ours, and less about building their Facebook.
Yeah, what we have our folks do, AARP is Chris Stokes' account. They do the same thing on Monday, for instance, today at some point. AARP will probably have a post on their Facebook page, and then we'll have one on ours. So the one on ours sends our fans to the AARP page, and then they're actually kind of welcomed. Hey, Sooner fans, here's what you do today on our page, so that we're not just sending them to the AARP page and there's nothing about OU on that page.
That's right. It's got to be relevant.
Right. And Jason and Tori have told us, hey, we're open to however you guys want to do this, but it always has to provide value. So we always have to be thinking, is it giving away a Bob Stoops autograph? Even giving away just a Bob Stoops autograph football was highly successful for AARP.
Very cool. Thank you. Good job.
Does anyone out there who's maybe sold something and had success that wants to share another success story real quick?
Hey, this is Jordan here with Fresno State. We're doing something similar to, we don't have the access to Fresno State's Facebook page and Twitter, all that, but we've kind of created a Facebook and a Twitter for our student section. You know, we've had actually sponsors jump on board because they want to attract the students. So we kind of like what you guys were able to, put posts up there for our clients and also kind of just attract as many students as possible. I don't know if anyone has ever done this just strictly to students or anything like that. So that's what we're starting to do here. Seeing that we can't get access to the Fresno State Facebook, we started to create our own for our student section.
Stanford in their Twitter content strategy has been tweeting in game to the fan section. For instance, saying, does anyone in the red zone have a flip camera? Can you get some crowd reactions? And so they've done that kind of stuff more from a content perspective.
Yeah. I also have a question in regards to how do you guys, at OU and also Penn State, how do you guys promote it? Do you guys promote it in stadiums? Do you guys do, to attract people to their pages?
Well, this is John. We integrated some LED for inside the stadium for the games. Go to the Weiss Facebook page and check out the Pet of the Game contest. We also were running some leaderboard and story ads on the internet. Basically, just promoting Facebook all the time. The radio ads, it's all Facebook. Whoever gets the most likes, like the Weiss Facebook page. I mean, it sounds pretty simple and trite, right? But those are so it's not, you're not voting, you're liking. Whoever likes the most. So we tell people that on the radio, we tell them on the LED, and getting the word out like that. And I'll just add this on. I mean, I'm a nosy person by nature, so I sit there on my own Facebook page. I'm connected with the Weiss Markets page, and I sit there and I'll post the updates on as many Facebook pages as I can find. From statecollege.com to the Penn State. I'll chime in on the Penn State Athletics Facebook thing about the updated Pet of the Game voting. Just to keep the momentum going.
Hey, Kirk, this is Jeff at San Diego State.
Jeff?
Along those lines that Jordan had brought up, just wanted to jump in there real quick. We kind of struggle at San Diego State along the same lines as they do with integrating what we'd like to do with the Facebook pages, or with the Facebook page, the Twitter page, YouTube channel that the school has. Theirs is pretty sterile. They don't allow us much access. Contests and promotions are something they don't typically want us to do on there. So what we did late last year was create our own social media brand, Aztec Game Time. That I don't want to say it's in direct competition with the school. We consider it a supplement to what the school does with their pages and their social media. But it allows us, total ownership of what we want to do and what our sponsors want to do. And we've had great success with it. We've driven the numbers pretty rapidly. We have a sports MBA program here at San Diego State that we have given 2 of those MBA students basically the opportunity to run our program for us. They're real hands-on. They report to us on a weekly basis. But it gives us full ownership of the content, of the promotions, what the sponsors want to be doing, and it's really grown for us here in the last 6 months. And again, it's not in competition with the school, but it's really supplemental.
That sounds like what Oklahoma or Sooner Sports Properties was proposing to the school that Sooner Sports Properties was going to do. And instead, it looks like, just because of the brand of Oklahoma and the content that they can have access to, I commend you for doing this. I think at some point we probably need to show the school, how we've done this, and if there's any way that we can kind of partner with them to kind of get access to, or partner with them closer so we can both open the channel together, bigger and better, and increase the number of followers, best practices, and all that. And I would just encourage Jeff and people like Jeff who've had to think differently and do this as an alternative to really lean on Learfield Sports digital media as a resource, for the school. Because sometimes when you're fighting those battles and you're there every day, it's almost good to bring someone in out of the bullpen, so to speak. And if there's any opportunity to do that to where we can all work together and really take advantage of this channel, we would encourage that. But Jeff, that's a great example to, the alternative when you can't get access to the school's Facebook or Twitter pages.
Hey, Kirk, this is Kelly. I have a quick question for the guys at OU. While you guys were talking, I was kind of looking through the OU Facebook page, and I noticed that somebody had posted the Delta Dental teeth-rattling hits of the game on the wall there. It looks like you guys got lots of people watching that. I was just curious, is that a feature that you guys run on the scoreboard that they just posted online or on the Facebook page, or is that something you did special for this?
That's right. It is a feature that they run in venue and that you vote on Soonersports.com on, and I was trying to work on upselling them on Facebook next year. So I went ahead and told my Delta Dental folks we'll give you a freebie, see how it goes before the OU Texas game last weekend, and it was really successful. So hopefully that allows us to upsell that a little bit. But yeah, currently it's just part of a feature we do in venue.
I just think it was really, obviously something that's already been created and done, and it has the nice little, opening graphic for Delta Dental on there. And I was just looking at, you've got 94 comments on this thing right here, and it looks like a lot more people watched it. It's just a very creative way to give Delta Dental a little hit and a little association. I thought, well done.
Yeah, they did a good, our guys helped us out a lot on that.
I want to make another comment to Jeff Belitho's, what he shared from San Diego State, and just kind of what we've learned from Oklahoma. It sounds like they're really doing this well, and they've got the school on board and everything. That let's do what we all need to do to kind of document some of these successes and use Learfield Sports digital media. We're available if we need to be on a call with the school and with the property and so forth, to all try to get on the same page.
This is Brad in Memphis, and we've created our own Tiger Sports Properties Facebook page as well. And one of the challenges that we're finding is that how do we understand about promoting the site on radio or the elements that we have, but really what we want to do is get our sponsors as friends of our site. And then we can ask and we can do searches and things of that. Is there a mass way to invite people to your site? It seems like with Facebook you have to search out to find the site. So we were thinking about it as more of a communication tool, getting information to our sponsors, and we're having a difficult time getting our sponsors to friend us on our site. Is there a way to reverse that anybody knows of?
Brad, it's Kirk. I just want to say that I don't know. I'll let you guys in on a secret. I'm not a big Facebook user. I have Facebook and I've probably got a couple hundred friends or whatever, but I don't know. I think we just need to be mindful of how people want to receive information and things like that. You probably just need to do it one by one, and probably not the answer that you want to hear, but and then accept the people who want to be communicated to like this. You know, it's a great idea to, you know, to reinforce how you guys are using it, show it in action and all that, and get their interaction and participation, but you just might not from some people. Anyone else have any questions or comments or? Okay, well, we can put a wrap on it. It's been a good 45 minutes, and if anyone has any, you know, questions they want to talk about, you can call us directly or email us. Hopefully this has been helpful. Thanks, everyone.